Hello, and welcome to the lore of Braunhaven. Uh, we're going to continue looking at the Borderlands. Today we're going to be talking about the Gloucester Inn. And un- unlike other locations where an inn is going to be a single building, in a town, usually their um, inns are different from taverns or alehouses. An inn generally will have rooms for you to stay in. It's also generally going to be a little bit of a nicer environment, usually. The Gloucester Inn, on the other hand, it may have started that way, but today the Gloucester Inn is a bit more than that. It is actually a small walled community, multiple buildings. I suppose you could consider it a small village, really. And it is, as I said, it is fortified. It has um, a palisade wall, you know, timber, sharpened logs that are set into the ground, and a couple of gates leading into it. And this was started by a merchant from Arabashia. Uh, you see, the issue really for these merchant caravans is that while the pay can be quite lucrative, hitting these markets in the west, such as at one time the Gloucester Empire was quite lucrative, but really the cash cow for these merchants is the dwarven capital of Zlatoheim, way up in the Skelos Mountains. And that's the entire reason that the Eastern Tradeway exists. It was actually the dwarves of Zlatoheim that continued the trail further to the north and west to uh, the capital city of Olafsveller and Stagina. But coming from the east in Arabashia, after you leave uh, the most of the lands of Arabashia, you enter a vast desert that's mostly inhabited um, by nomads, and can be more than just the environment. Some of the other individuals and monsters that live in that desert are quite deadly, and it is the deserts of the desert. The It is quite um, ancient. Well, I don't know. 2,000 years, I suppose, can be considered ancient, but it was formed again. One of the other areas that was formed during the War of the Heavens, and when the new gods finally had enough of the three devils that had come to the Prime Plane and ruled. And so it was another similar to much of Stagina. Um, it was formed during one of the hammer strikes of the gods. More information about what those hammer strikes involved. They quite literally hammer strikes. um, More information on what those entailed and what they were is forthcoming. At least a hint of it is coming in the next book, Stagina, the Land of Ice and Plunder, as well as stats for creating Stygian Gargantua half giant characters for old school essentials. But the Gloucester Inn, so you cross this vast desert, and once you get out of the desert then slowly changes over to some small areas of oasis, and then to the south, along the towards the shoreline, is a fairly vast swamp, and to the north are is a small ridge of mountains, and in between those two areas are the Bright Plains, and there is just miles and miles and miles of grasslands. Now, you would think that this would be fertile um, farmland or would be ripe for colonization, and there are some There are some rugged individuals that are out there that are able to um, eke out a small living, or not really a living, but they live. We'll put it that way. Um, the bright plains are actually quite dry, and the grass that grows there while it grows fairly tall, especially in the uh, spring and spring through fall months, it is still quite dry, and it can also be quite cold in the winter. Not, you know, not terribly cold, but the winter does see a few blizzards every year. It doesn't necessarily completely ice over, but there is a lot of snow. And that, but it seems that that water doesn't, when it thaws, it doesn't want to hold in the ground table. Instead, it all just flows south, forming the swamps to the south. The swamps in the south actually have a whole lot of problems. They are rife with snake people. There are more than a couple of these cults down there. Um, and for the most part, the snake people, for the most part, just want to be left alone. At least that's what most of the human population believes. But the reality is, we all know how the snake people are. They're just plotting and biding their time before they can once again try to reinstate their empire. Um, because their empire right now is sank into the mud. Beyond that, after you travel all these long miles, then you start to enter the borderlands, and the Bright Plains are also full of gnolls. Gnoll tribes roam between the swamps and the northern mountain ranges, and so you have these dangerous gnolls that are roaming around. The caravans constantly have to have guards up at night. So after traveling all these miles, first across the desert and then across the Bright Plains, you come to the borderlands, and a merchant uh, who was getting up there in years came up with the idea that he didn't want to really travel anymore because it's a long ways. That is a long trade route. And he decided that money was there to be made in catering to these people. They need some modicum of safety and a good night's rest. And so he constructed the Gloucester Inn, which originally started as a single building with a fortification, and he hired some of his best and brightest caravan guards to act as, um, you know, permanent uh, guards that are stationed there. They're probably a little bit nothing more than a bunch of mercenaries, but he treats them well, and they get a nice, cozy bed to sleep in every night. And so most of them are not really wanting to leave. I mean, they're making as much money doing this as they would facing the dangers of a trade caravan, so this is a much cushier position. And the Gloucester Inn does occasionally have to fend off gnolls, and thus far, it has done quite well at that. It is known all along the Eastern Tradeway as the best, safest spot uh, to rest coming in from the Bright Plains. But it is also known as kind of a uh, I don't know, ascending off point. Once you have traveled, let's say that you went all the way to Olafsveller. That's a long ways that way, and then you are making your way back. You go through Zlatoheim. You probably stopped in Braunhaven. You may even stop in Stromshire or Eastings, probably for speculative trade, seeing if they want to buy anything that you picked up in the Dwarven markets or even in the Stygian markets. And then, before you decide to set out on this long journey across the Bright Plains and across the desert to Erebachia, you would stop at the Gloucester Inn. Like I said, there's multiple buildings. There's, of course, the what started as the inn itself, and then there are numerous outbuildings, mostly to accommodate um, people that are staying the night. There are also a quite large stables for stabling your beasts of burden or for taking care of your wagons and carts. There is a wheelwright there. There is quite good cart construction and repair available, and very capable blacksmiths. There is even an armorer and an alchemist on site for potion brewing. And then, of course, in addition to the buildings that you would have for the inn, there is a barracks there for the for the guards that work for the Gloucester Inn. So this is more than just an inn. This is like I said, it's a small village. There's probably permanent residents at the Gloucester Inn. There's probably at least 50 people that live there, that keep the place running and conduct trade with the caravans that come through. The winter months can, of course, be a little bit more lean, but like a beachside tourist town, most of their money is going to be made in late spring through early fall, and that is copious enough for them to last throughout the rest of the cold winter. And it can be said, things at the Gloucester Inn are going to cost just a little bit more because they are providing a premium service. So if you're looking at so available right now, you can download from DriveThru RPG. I've set it to pay what you want. It is the Braunhaven custom referee screen inserts, and they are designed to be printed out. The way I did mine is I printed them out and then I laminated them. And I have a Talon and Claw custom wood DM screen that with magnetics that holds them in place. And it's nice because they're laminated. You can draw on them with a wet erase pen or write on them, whatever you want to do. But that's what they're designed for. They're designed for the custom DM screens that you can pick up everywhere. I think you can buy several different flavors of them on Amazon. And anyways, that is set to pay what you want. And on I think it's the fourth page, there is a complete up to current uh, official. Well, I didn't make it official, but it's from official sources. Uh, Old school essentials equipment list. It also includes inns and lodging and food and whatnot. And on that list, with the food and lodging and drinks and whatnot, I would say the Gloucester Inn, you could probably expect to pay anywhere from 10% to 15% above that list cost. Some of their equipment and items, of course, they're going to have nothing but your basic common equipment, backpacks and things of that nature. Those, of course, would also have a 10% markup because, I mean, what are you going to do? After that long trip coming in this area, you're going to be low on items. You're going to be low on rations. You're going to be low on, probably on torches, all of that stuff. They kind of have you over a barrel, man. You got to purchase it, right? Um, Potions and things of that matter, I would do a random roll. They probably have nothing more than per day. I would say probably not much more than 1d4 healing potions, for instance. Or there might be a 20% chance that they'll have some other kind of potion because the alchemist, he works there and permanently, and of course he's always keeping or trying to always keep his potions in stock, but it takes a while for potions to brew. Those generally, a healing potion generally, I would say is probably going to go for 25 to 50 gold a vial, or per dose. So those are available at the Gloucester Inn. Now across the Eastern Tradeway on the northern side from the Gloucester Inn, just across the road, is a shrine, and the shrine, it is fairly simple, but it's built around a natural spring. And in this shrine, it essentially is made of uh, large boulders that have been rolled into place and covered with chiseled stone. So, like I said, it's very simple. And there is a natural spring there. And this was created by the merchant that created the Gloucester Inn. Because he's from Erebachia, and Erebachia, they're they are more into worship of. I mean, they worship them like they're gods, and their clerics are granted spells. But you're talking about more of like a jinn worship and elemental nature spirits, and they believe that the jinn can reside in all different elements of nature, and of course they are. And this is because way in the past, when the three devils had ruled much of the world, the devil that had ruled in Erebachia kind of made a pact with the jinn, and they were kind of brought in as mercenaries. The so in the lower planes, souls are essentially traded back and forth as currency, and the archdevil that took Erebachia was quite low financially as far as his intake of souls, and so he instead made a deal with the jinn. And after everything was all said and done with the War of the Heavens, and the devils were cast out, of course their minions weren't really completely cast out. There are still devils and demons that are left from that are on the prime plane, but in the case of Erebachia, the jinn kind of took root, and uh, kind of realizing which side of the bread the butter was on, they um, set themselves up. I wouldn't say as benevolent benefactors, but um, they weren't, of course, as cruel or overbearing as the devil was. And so this kind of led to the people of Erebachia over time venerating them. And there's many different ones. Some of these jinn, of course, walk openly and are there's a few of them that are have been known to be pashas of Erebachia, or pashas. So knowing this, it was he found this natural spring and built a shrine around it. And it is said that there is a jinn spirit that lives in this natural shrine. And there are some other benefits that the shrine has been attributed to. There are some who say that bathing in the water of the shrine over the period of a couple of turns, a turn being 10 minutes, will heal you, act as a healing potion, or cure you of disease if you drink from the shrine. Um, and it is said that that is because this blessed shrine has the spirit of a jinn living in it. Whether or not that is completely true, or if all of this is just simply anecdotal, and nobody knows if there is anything there, who knows? I guess your players will have to go and decide on their own. But that does exist on the opposite of the road. It is not really guarded. It is open to any and all that are traveling along the road. The Erebachans are very open with their religion, and even if you are of the new faith, or even if you worship the old gods, um, if you want to check out the shrine, more power to you. They, the feeling that the Erebachans have is more that they will get more converts over to their religion if they just let you find it on your own. They don't necessarily have to beat you over the head with it proselytizing all the time. And so it is open to all. It is not guarded. It does not have a wall around it. Um, this has generally not been a problem, and this is because the merchant believes wholeheartedly that there is a djinn living in that spring, and it is of his thought that the djinn can take care of himself. And the it seems to be true because the gnolls seem to give that shrine a very wide berth. They, I don't know if they have perhaps attacked it in the past and they learned the hard way, or what it is, but they leave it alone. And the jinn being what they are, um, they don't seem to. If there is a spirit there, it doesn't seem to really care much about what happens to the Gloucester Inn. This seems to be 100% in line with the thought process. So, the merchant that built the inn took took the means to fortify it and build it up. So that is the Gloucester Inn. Next time, we're going to be taking a look at the Dallinwood and the town of Eastings and see what is actually going on in this expanse of the Dallinwood that sits in the middle of the Kingdom of Beria. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.